Well, in the 11th round of the 1988 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys picked an Air Force All-American named Chad Hennings. But the Cowboys had to wait as Chad deployed to Iraq twice. Finally, 4 years after being drafted, Captain Chad Hennings arrived in the NFL, and soon he helped his team win 3 Super Bowls in just 4 years.
Chad Hennings played 9 seasons as a defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys. And before that, he attended the U.S. Air Force Academy and was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Chad believed his own work ethic was the reason for his success. But when his 2-year-old son was suddenly fighting for his life, Chad could no longer rely on his own strength.
And Chad Hennings joins us now. Chad, welcome back to the 700 Club. I understand it's been about 10 years.
It has been 10 years, a long time.
Yes, way too long. Well, let's start with the Cowboys. Were you surprised when you got drafted by the Cowboys?
Yes, I was, and that was predominantly because of my military commitment. I had a minimum of 5 years, but I chose to up that commitment time to 8 years because I wanted to be a pilot and fly jets.
So Desert Storm broke out, and now you have this chance to play in the NFL. But you decide to stay true to your first calling to go into the Air Force. Why did you do that?
It was a sense of my integrity, my commitment. It's one of the things that I grew up that to be a man of integrity and commitment, you had to follow through with your word.
Yeah.
So I gave the Air Force, my word after my sophomore year at the Air Force Academy. You have the opportunity prior to that to leave, but if you stay, as I said, you owe a minimum of 5 years. So I gave my word I was going to follow through with that. The NFL would have to wait.
Did some people say you're crazy for doing that?
Oh, a lot of people did. Why are you turning your back? I was an Outland Trophy winner my senior year, All-American, academic All-American, projected first-round draft pick, but I wanted to be that man of integrity.
Absolutely. You did the right thing. I'm sure you feel that you did. Well, how does the experience of playing in the Super Bowl and winning Super Bowls compare to being, flying combat missions?
A lot of times they do analogies to, it's a battle in the trenches, it's an air war, it's an air campaign, but flying missions in combat, of course, you're putting your true life at risk. And I guess I could say that same thing when I'm lining up against 320-pound offensive linemen. Sometimes it seems like you're putting your life at risk.
Yeah.
But, a lot of the lessons that I learned flying jets in combat, I was able to carry over to the NFL as far as my mental preparation, the aspects, the importance of teamwork, the importance of overcoming the odds, how do you think tactically, strategically. So there was a lot of commonality between the two.
Well, what are some of those lessons that you took from the front lines and from flying, in combat missions to the gridiron?
Well, it's not just to the gridiron, but it's also to life. The whole aspect for me of living a life of excellence, it's not a destination, it's a journey. And it's taking each day for what it gives you for that day, to try to be your best self every day, to encourage others, to be their best selves, and then the organizations that I'm affiliated with to rise to that higher noble purpose or cause.
Well, Chad, between the Super Bowl rings, and I just got to see yours and hold it. Let me tell you, this is heavy. This is a beautiful, heavy ring. Between the 3 rings and the combat honors that you received, you said none of that mattered when your 2-year-old son fell ill. What happened to him?
My son Chase, just a couple weeks after we won Super Bowl 30, the 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years, he got sick, and we had no idea at the time what it was, but it ended up being an autoimmune illness where his body was attacking itself. And it was that sense of unknown for us because my life up until that point in time, any adversity that I had faced, I was always able to overcome by my own work ethic, by my own abilities. And it was at this point in time where I couldn't fix it. I couldn't cure it. And for men, that's where we struggle. When we can't fix it, we can't overcome. We ask those questions, who am I? What is my purpose, my identity? And that's where I truly, I think, came to the end of myself and realized that, what I did not define who I was.
Yeah.
And it was through that aspect that I discovered who God was. And I'm continuing to discover who God is and his character and his nature.
So what happened with your son?
My son, we went through years for the next several years of seeking different modalities of treatment, but it ended up being, as I said, an autoimmune illness where we discovered where his body was attacking itself. We were able to stop the inflammation process and to stop the disease process. But Chase today has graduated from the University of North Texas several years ago. He's gainfully employed. You know, he's off the payroll, yay. But he's doing a phenomenal job, and he's a great young man and loves the Lord.
There he is right there. So, but you said you got through that by reaching out, getting out of your comfort zone and actually reaching out to other men, because you talk about a disconnect that many men feel and that you felt. What is that disconnect that men suffer from?
Well, our culture builds this myth that for men to be a man, you have to be, depending upon your demographic, Gary Cooper in the movie High Noon, or Rambo, or whoever, of that you cannot show any type of weakness or chinks in your armor.
Right.
And that's what we try through either through my men's ministry, Wingman, or through Promise Keepers, which I'm now a part of on the board of directors, is to encourage men that we do need other men. You need to form those transparent, Christ-centered, masculine relationships where you can be real.
And you said you've said before that was unnatural for you. You actually kind of felt isolated and alone a lot of, your growing up years.
It was, because you don't want to admit that you can't accomplish something. At least that was for me. And to break that facade, to actually take that risk to reach out to another man and say, hey, man, I don't have it together. I need help. Would you pray for me? Help me walk through this. It was like God shining a light on that. Well, it was a character flaw for me, and shining that light on that, it's not about you. It's about what I have done for you by sending my son, Jesus Christ, into this world to take care of your sin. Just trust in me.
Yeah.
And that's was the relief factor.
And that's where Wingman Ministries grew. And how long has that been?
Wingman Ministries, we've been going for over 15 years. And it's just encouraging men on discipleship and encouraging others. And this is what I'm excited to actually join the board of Promise Keepers also, where we have our next event is July 31st of 2020 at AT&T Stadium. We had to have it as a homer, as a Dallas Cowboy, home of America's team, so don't get mad with any other NFL fans. But that's the big kickoff for us.
Yeah. And Wingman Ministries, so that's your baby now. This is something. And how can other men, find out more about it?
They can find more about Wingman at wingmen.org, and then also for the promisekeepers.org too, for both men's ministries. Okay.
And you have a book. I know you're an author, and you have a book, and you can promote that right now if you want to too.
Well, I have several books out. One book called It Takes Commitment that I wrote about this concept of commitment during my time with the Cowboys. I had another book that I promoted last time when I was here called Rules of Engagement, Finding Faith and Purpose in a Disconnected World. And my newest book is called, God, I just forgot it.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Forces of Character. I'm sorry. I just had a football moment there. But Forces of Character.
Well, we can all relate to that.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chad. It's a pleasure. And you can find out more about Chad and the Wingman Ministries by going to cbn.com.